Hello and welcome to Robotics and Automation News Review. It's Wednesday, 3rd of February, 2021. My name is Abdul Montakim. I'm editor of Robotics and Automation News.com. This is a new program, a new show that we're trying out. We used to do a review, which was a 5-10 minute sort of roundup of stories from the website with edited clips from either videos or pictures from the stories that we were talking about. But that proved to be quite time consuming, and being a relatively small website with small number of staff, we couldn't do it on a daily basis or even a weekly basis. But this format, hopefully, we can sustain for the foreseeable future. We'll try and do this every day and make it a regular, give it a regular time slot on our YouTube channel. This is our YouTube channel. If you can see the screen, please do subscribe. We have loads of videos on there. Some are quite long, in-depth interviews, which include presentations by companies. Some are short promotional videos and news items and all sorts of things, really. So, and this is obviously this show is meant to add to that mix. So we'll try and improve it as we go along. We're very happy with the number of subscribers that we do have. It's just over 1,000. It's obviously nothing compared to some of the bigger channels on YouTube, which have tens of millions. But we're a niche website with what we might call obscure subject matter. Even though robotics has become really popular to talk about in the last year or two, it is still a niche subject. The mainstream websites and all the other people that used to have been talking about for the last year or two seem to have moved on to other things, which kind of, was to be expected because it was more of a fad to them. For us, obviously, our website is called Robotics and Automation News. You can see it now on screen. Yeah, and that's what we do. That's what we do. So what we'll do this program is that we'll go through some of the stories that we cover. We try and we get hundreds of press releases every week, sometimes every day. Lots of stories that we could cover, but we only choose 5 to 10, partly again because of the number of staff that we have, 5 to 10 stories a day. And and down on the right hand side of the homepage, you'll see that the latest articles are listed. I'll pick out a few of those in a minute, but before I do, I'll just show you a few different parts of the website. This is the most read, which tends to aggregate 24 to 48 hours of of views and lists them accordingly. I'll get into that in a minute. Obviously, this is the main page. We'll probably improve some of the navigation areas and put new buttons on there, maybe a video button on there. But yeah, this is the main page with news and features, manufacturing and logistics, and some of the specific areas like industrial robots and transportation and infrastructure and computing and so on. So that's an overview of the website. We've been publishing for about 5 years, just over 5 years, I think. And we've, started off relatively small, but we've grown into a fairly, large website with a good following, very supportive, huge numbers of people visit our website. Some paying premium subscribers, if you like. We'll try and increase that because obviously, we have to try and survive through the coronavirus crisis and so on. So yeah, let's get on with the show, as it were. What we'll do with this show, as I say, we'll pick out some of the latest articles that we've covered on a daily basis, and then move on to some of the ones that have been getting a lot of views. In today's list of latest articles, I thought I'll pick out the Badger Technologies one. Badger Technologies launches ultraviolet disinfection robot. Now, ultraviolet disinfection robots are a new sector, obviously because of coronavirus, because it's such a disaster of epic proportions, historic proportions. There's no, I don't think there is a parallel, even if you go back to whatever they saying Spanish flu and whatever it's called. This is something else. So apart from all the other things that are going on, robot companies have been developing what they call UV disinfection robots. Ultraviolet apparently is good at killing, I suppose, viruses and germs and whatnot in the atmosphere, and they've been around for quite some time, probably at least a couple of years, but definitely before the coronavirus. But there was only like one, maybe two companies producing them. Now I would say at least half a dozen to a dozen companies have produced ultraviolet disinfection robots, and this one is Badger Technologies version. As you can see in the picture, it's quite a tall machine. I suppose the ultraviolet part is on the side there. The other side probably has the same kind of light, ultraviolet light. It's very interesting to me that a light can do that. Light source, and ultraviolet light can kill viruses or germs. But yeah, Badger Technologies, we've covered a few stories of theirs. They tend to produce robots that are meant for shops, retail outlets, but I think they sort of check stock, scan the stock and see which shelves need restocking and so on. This is a similar machine in terms of structure, but it's obviously an ultraviolet disinfection robot. According to the CEO of Badger Technologies, Tim Rowland, CEO of Badger Technologies, it's the robot can navigate aisles effortlessly. It's ideal for is an ideal robot for the job. Retailers can quickly address COVID-19 contamination concerns, and so on, as he says. Now, according to the company, the UV disinfection robot can decontaminate up to, or decontaminate 40,000 square feet in about 2 hours. So that's, I think it's quite impressive. I suppose I don't know what the other robots do or what kind of metrics they use to they highlight, but that seems like a fairly good way to disinfect an area. Seems quite efficient. Early testing, this is an interesting paragraph. Early testing of the Badger Technologies autonomous robot with UVDIs, 254 nanometer. I guess UVDI is a company that they partnered with to develop the UV technology. Early testing indicates 99% and greater inactivation of coronaviruses, E. coli, Salmonella, Enterica, and influenza A. So that seems to, it sounds like it could do the job. All right, so that is a good story that we've published today, and let's move on to a different story. This one caught my eye because UPS is obviously a huge company, logistics company, American logistics company, been around for a long time. It's one of the biggest in the world. They sold their something called UPS Freight. What kind of confused me is that UPS Freight seems like UPS itself. It's like selling itself. What would be left of it if it sold UPS Freight? That was my first question in my mind when I thought of it, when I saw it. But I guess the freight section, not guess, I actually, obviously looked at the story, and freight section is basically trucks and whatnot. UPS is much more than just trucks taking things from one place to another. It's got planes and all sorts of other things. It's a huge, as I say, massive company. And obviously the money that they've got from TFI International, the buy, $800 million is massive. So yeah, they probably decided to sell because of the money. I'm not really sure. But certainly, I mean, the idea is that less than truckload sort of business, as they call it, less than truckload, obviously, is just as it, as it says, is less than truckload. So that's something that caught my eye, partly because UPS has been testing all kinds of robotics technologies, whether it's drones or maybe autonomous vehicles, and so on, looking to the future of distribution. So it's interesting to keep an eye on what the company is doing, and this was one of the things that we thought worth mentioning on the website. The other story that was particularly interesting was Walmart. Walmart has been looking at loads of different types of technologies, robotics technologies, and the strategy seems to be sort of changing its strategy or developing a strategy where it has lots of local fulfillment centers. Fulfillment obviously means fulfilling an order, making an order out of different products for customers. And local fulfillment, what it indicates is their stores. Walmart has thousands of stores all across the US, and each one of them, or at least a good number of them, will have fulfillment centers attached to them. And these fulfillment centers are likely to be very highly automated, robots included. And this is one of the robots they're using. It's called Alpha, though they've been testing and using them, I think. It's early days, so I don't think it's been rolled out across the whole country, but it looks like this is going to be done. Alphabot was developed by a company called, I'll find it down here, Alert Innovation. Alert Innovation is the developer of the Alphabot. But Walmart is building, it says it's building local fulfillment centers with various technology partners, including Alert Innovation, Dematic, and Fabric. Dematic is another huge logistics company, material handling company, I suppose that's a distinction. And Fabric, I think Fabric are more of a software company, but I should check that really. But anyway, the Walmart stories about Walmart, and they're working with lots of different robotic and automation companies to develop local fulfillment centers. And just to underline that trend or development, we included a story by Swisslog, which talks about what's called the last mile. Last mile meaning in logistics, it means the last mile just before the delivery takes place to the end customer, whether it's at somebody's home or another location. The last mile is always the most difficult and complex part of the journey, least profitable, if you like. Because obviously a truck can, go on a motorway and go hundreds of miles without having to make a turn. But last mile, yeah, lots of little streets, lots of little, complex journeys are involved. And micro fulfillment seems to be cropping up here and there. Micro fulfillment centers just means small fulfillment centers which are automated. Nowadays, you can get small, relatively small automation, automated warehouses or modular sort of pre-built systems, which you could get, they could be the size of a typical container on the back of a truck. These are compartmentalized. They have robots inside or on top, and the products are fetched from within. And each individual product is added to another product and made into an order for a consumer. Now the customer can then either pick up the order from the fulfillment center or get it delivered to their location. So these according to Swisslog and quite a lot of other companies, micro fulfillment centers are kind of growing, and as I say, ties in with the Walmart story with their fulfillment centers. So that's a trend that's quite an interesting thing to sort of keep an eye on. Swisslog has worked with numerous different companies. We've covered lots of them. One of them is HEB, and that's been working with Swisslog to build a number of different micro fulfillment centers. So yeah, that's HEB's online grocery store. The central technology is actually built by AutoStore. A company called AutoStore builds the what they call the ASRS system, is the automated storage and retrieval system. I'll just do a search on our website. There's a search function or search box just to the right margin. I'll just have a look for AutoStore, because AutoStore is the company that has the auto fulfillment. So the ASRS that Swisslog uses, not necessarily Walmart, though they may be using different things or develop their own. So one of the more interesting stories we covered recently was FBI. The FBI in America installed an AutoStore system, ASRS system, to centralize the record filing and retrieval. So yeah, all these little machines, these little wheeled robots, go around obviously picking up documents or filing them away for the FBI. So yeah, it's quite an interesting area. They probably wouldn't do micro fulfillment centers, obviously, but it's the ASRS system I'm talking about right now. So that's one of the stories that we covered today. And I suppose I could pick out one or two others. This one was quite interesting. Autonomous inductive charging. Yeah, inductive charging, I think it means wireless charging. So yeah, Wiferion is the company that we're talking about here. Actually, it's a contributed piece by Julian Sumi, Chief Marketing Officer of Wiferion. Yeah, they have developed this wireless charging system, which appears to be aimed, more at AGVs. automated guided vehicles, which are used in warehouses and manufacturing plants, actually, to move things around, usually heavier things. AGVs, automated guided vehicles, are different from autonomous mobile robots. Mainly, the AGVs tend to have a larger payload. Some AGVs can carry a car, for example. AMRs, or autonomous mobile robots, tend to be smaller, and they're autonomous rather than automated. So AGVs often need magnetic rails to sort of guide them along. But it's changing. The technology is changing. Some of them are becoming like AMRs. But anyway, without getting too much into the detail of that specific technology, the charging, so they all need, obviously, electricity. The charging systems differ. I don't know whether AGVs and AMRs need to be plugged in to be charged, but obviously wireless, it seems the perfect solution, because the AGV or AMR can drive itself to the charging point and wait till it's charged and then move off again. There's no need to plug anything in, and yeah, everything seems smooth. So that was an interesting technology that I thought was worth highlighting. And lastly, Fetch Robotics and Honeywell launch new integrated pallet conveyance solution. Now, Fetch Robotics is a startup. It's a very much discussed and talked about startup. We've got a video of an interview recorded of one of the senior executives at Fetch Robotics, which will publish soon. But yeah, this story is about their partnership with the Honeywell Intelligrated. Honeywell, obviously a huge, famous company. Intelligrated is a material handling company that Honeywell bought a while back, a couple of years ago, I think. And yeah, Honeywell Intelligrated is now partnering with Fetch on pallet conveyancing. I suppose that means moving. Pallets, the wooden standard, they come in standard sizes. So wooden pallets have standard sizes, and they have standard sort of cubic area of space. And they tend to be difficult for robots to disassemble or, unpack, as it were. It tends to be a job that's done by humans. But lately, there's been more robotic development in that area, so robots could actually disassemble the pallet load and then put them in put the items in the relevant places. So yeah, this is an interesting area. There's much development, like with other areas. Really, there's a lot of development going on. But yeah, this is I think an interesting story and an area worth watching. So the other part of our website that I'll talk about today is most read. Now, the most read, obviously, as it says, it lists the articles that have had the most views in the last 24 to 48 hours. I'm not actually sure whether it's 24 or 48, but recent sort of stories, the most number of views, the story that has the most number of views goes at the top, and so on. Interesting thing about this list is that a lot of the stories tend to be top 20s, top 25s, top 10s. In fact, sometimes the whole list is made of, the whole most read list is made of lists. I'm not complaining, obviously very, very happy to receive visitors for any of our articles, but they do seem very popular, and it means that new stories don't get into the most read. Not that it matters, but just in this, today or this week, we've seen more stories that have come into the top 10. The ones I'll pick out in the answer to this story, it's a very interesting. It's interesting that we do science stories sometimes. So Neanderthals may have had larger brains, but environmental changes favored Homo sapiens. Now, we do science stories sometimes, random science stories about things that interest us. But I just didn't expect that to be in the top, this one to be in the top 10. Not really sure why people are reading this. It is an interesting story, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't have put it on there, but it's just not a robotic story. Uh, Nothing to do with manufacturing or logistics or anything. But anyway, it is interesting. Apparently, Homo sapiens had larger brains. Which probably, I suppose, meant that they needed more oxygen. And at some point, the atmosphere of the Earth changed, and there was less oxygen around, and that's sort of what did it for the Neanderthals. Homo sapiens needed less oxygen, probably because they're smaller brain, um, and they survived. This is all according to, I think I got it right. Anyway, this is according to a Max Planck study. Max Planck is a very famous, prestigious research institute. I think it's in Germany. But yeah, it's quite an interesting story, although nothing to do with robotics. I'm not really sure whether that's a good idea. Did Neanderthals build the pyramids? I don't know whether that's appropriate, but anyway, yeah, we try and lighten things up a bit, coming up with weird ideas. Anyway, yeah, the last story I'll pick out of this list is AutoX launches fully driverless robo taxi service to the public in China. Now, autonomous vehicles are very interesting to, I think, everybody really, even if they don't want to use them, like myself. I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable in one. I like to drive a car myself. So yeah, but anyway, that aside, AutoX, yeah, they've launched a robotaxi. They've been testing it for quite some time. They've now launched a robotaxi service to the public in Shenzhen, China. I'm not sure if Shenzhen is a city or a region in China, but it's quite famous. I think it's a techie sort of hub. But yeah, this is interesting for many reasons. But one is that China probably has regulations or fewer regulations which enables these kind of companies to launch services like this. Whereas in North America and Europe, you may have much more stringent regulations about public roads. When it comes to private roads or private land or whatever, autonomous vehicles can probably be used without much involvement of the local government. So, you know, companies like Komatsu or Caterpillar have been providing autonomous vehicles to the mining industry for a very, very long time. Nowadays, what they call autonomous shuttles have been operating within certain sort of private areas, and they're doing a good trade now. Let me see if I can find that article that we did a little while ago, where we listed the top 25 autonomous shuttle manufacturers. Usually when we say top 25, it's not in any particular order. So, you know, we just, you know, it's not scientific. It's a combination of any data that we can find on our own guesstimation, I suppose. But yeah, some of these autonomous vehicles are a very interesting area, obviously. Some of these autonomous vehicles are being used for grocery deliveries. A lot of it is in the testing phase. As I say, these grocery deliveries definitely would need to navigate public roads. So, you know, it's going to take a while before they're sort of freely being operated. I think they're being used in highly controlled test conditions. You know, if they're on public roads. Some of these autonomous vehicles are designed to carry people. And if, for example, if it's on a university campus or an airport or some sort of industrial estate where one or two sort of companies own and control the land, group of companies, whatever the consortium or something like that, then yeah, they would have more freedom to implement this kind of technology. And Navia is something that local authorities, at least one or two local governments, have been testing with the intention of implementing them on local public transport routes. And that obviously, you know, it could save a lot of money and connect remote communities to the shopping areas or the center of town or wherever people like to go. Obviously, the savings made by not having a driver may mean the difference between having a service, a public transport service, or not. So yeah, it's a very interesting technology endorsed by, obviously, we've got German Chancellor Angela Merkel there at one of the trade shows a couple of years ago. Now, trade shows obviously have, you know, more or less gone for the time being because of COVID. Hopefully they'll come back later on in the year. But yeah, so one of these autonomous shuttles were, I can't remember which one, maybe it was this one, was used at a show like IMTS to give people rides from one part of the show to another. Obviously, these industrial trade shows tend to cover huge areas of land, and walking from one part of it to another takes ages. So these shuttles are quite convenient. So yeah, I really like this technology and much of the other technology we talk about. This one is developed by Toyota. This was meant to be used at the Olympics last year, which got cancelled, obviously. Whether the Olympics takes place this year or not is difficult to say, although the Japanese government reckon, you know, that it will take place. Other people say it might not. But anyway, if it does, this will probably make an appearance. I don't know whether it will just be used for athletes to get from one place to the other, or whether it will be the general public, the people, spectators, and whatever. So yeah, there's quite a lot of these companies, and some of them are making, you know, a commercial, you know, businesses out of them. So yeah, it's very interesting. But all right, I'll leave it there for now. Not really sure what else to suggest, but I think I've talked enough now. This is another story that we'll talk about things like this another time. For now, I think I'll wrap up here and wish you a good day wherever you are, good evening wherever you are, and see you again soon. And thank you for visiting Robotics and Automation News and supporting us. And please continue to visit and support us. And yeah, if you can go to our YouTube page, channel, and subscribe, and we'll try and produce more content like this and improve the quality of them. Thank you very much, and goodbye for now. Bye-bye.